Marcus Thorne led his fiancée Anya Sharma into his parents' opulent living room, his heart brimming with joyful anticipation. He was eager to share their wedding plans and hoped for his family's blessing. "Dad, Mom, meet my fiancée Anya. We're tying the knot in 2 weeks," he announced. But his beaming smile faltered as Anya extended a warm hand, met only by cold, unyielding stares. Anya's hand remained suspended in the air, her polite gesture hanging unanswered in the tense silence. Eleanor Vance, Marcus's mother, surveyed Anya with a look of undisguised disdain, her gaze lingering on Anya's outstretched hand as if it carried an invisible stain. "You expect me to shake those filthy hands of yours?" "I'm quite sure I will not," Eleanor retorted, her voice dripping with contempt. Anya's confidence wavered, a flush creeping up her neck as she slowly withdrew her hand, utterly stunned by the raw, offensive rejection. Marcus, mortified, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Richard Vance, Marcus's father, observed the exchange with a stern, disapproving gaze, then shifted the conversation with an air of calculated politeness that felt colder than his wife's outburst. "So, Anya," he began, his voice devoid of warmth, "tell us about your parents. What are their occupations?" Anya, attempting to regain her composure, met his gaze. "Well, my parents are both retired, and they run a small coffee shop," she shared, a quiet pride in her voice. Richard's head subtly shook in disappointment, a clear judgment passing across his face. He then turned his attention to Marcus. "So, Marcus, because of this girl, you refused to marry Sophia? The one we chose for you?" His tone sharpened. "Do you even comprehend the business connections we could establish through your marriage to her? Instead, you bring this person here, someone entirely lacking a wealthy background." Richard's voice hardened, his words like stones. "Lacking a wealthy background," he repeated, his disdain palpable, before turning his back on his son and walking out of the elegant living room, leaving his harsh judgment hanging in the air. Eleanor, seizing the moment, fixed Anya with an icy stare. "Your father and I are extremely disappointed in you, Marcus. Wherever you found this person, return her. You're simply not in the same class. She's a lowlife and a gold digger. No wonder you've been avoiding introducing her to us. You knew we wouldn't approve of this marriage." With that final, cruel accusation, Eleanor also turned and swept out, leaving Marcus and Anya utterly alone amidst the mansion's sterile opulence. Anya's shoulders slumped, a profound hurt settling in her heart, while Marcus's fists clenched at his sides. The silence that followed their departure was heavy, suffocating. Anya, her eyes welling with tears, picked up her bag. "Hey, babe, I don't think this is a good time," she suggested quietly, her voice trembling. "Maybe I should leave. It seems your parents don't want us to get married." But Marcus gently stopped her, his hand firm on her arm. "You can't leave, Anya. We just got here." He looked into her eyes, trying to infuse his gaze with unwavering reassurance. "You know what? I'm going to take you to my room, and then I'll have a talk with my parents. I'm sure they'll come around. They love you." He gently touched her hair, a comforting gesture, as he led her away from the scene of their shattered hopes and towards the promise of a resolution he desperately hoped he could deliver. The opulent silence of Eleanor and Richard Vance's lavish bedroom was shattered moments later, as Marcus knocked, then entered without waiting for a reply. His face was a mask of frustration, his eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and raw hurt. Eleanor lay regally on her ornate bed, a book resting on her chest, while Richard remained engrossed behind his newspaper, seemingly oblivious. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk," Marcus stated, his voice tight with barely suppressed emotion. Eleanor slowly lowered her book, a dismissive flick of her wrist. "What brings you here, son? Is she finally gone?" she asked, her tone dripping with casual cruelty. Marcus's jaw tightened. He began to pace the plush carpet, his agitation palpable. "No, Mom, she's in my room, and she feels terrible for what you and Dad said to her. I'm disappointed in both of you. I thought you loved me. Why all this?" he demanded, his voice cracking with a desperate plea for understanding. The air crackled with the rising tension as Marcus asserted himself against their ingrained prejudice. Marcus continued to pace, his gaze intense, as he tried to make his parents see reason. "Mom, listen, I've known Anya for more than 3 years. She's a truly wonderful girl, and her parents are loving people. Though they may not be wealthy, they are incredibly accommodating." He paused, a deep sigh escaping him. I've dated a few rich girls in the past, and their character isn't what I'm looking for in a wife. After searching for so long, I finally found Anya. She's everything I want in a woman. I really want to spend the rest of my life with her. We are deeply in love with each other, he explained, his voice thick with heartfelt conviction. He laid bare his heart, pleading for their understanding against their materialistic views. Eleanor, however, remained impassive, her face a cold mask. Eleanor finally sat up, her eyes narrowing with an unyielding coldness. But son, can't you see? She's black. What will people say about this? Do you want to tarnish our reputation? Her words were sharp, laced with bigoted disdain. She has no status to be fit, to be called your wife. Sophia is the right one for you. Can't you see how gorgeous she looks? Her rich status. Eleanor continued, pushing her own agenda, emphasizing social standing and external appearance over genuine connection. Marcus sighed, a frustrated sound escaping his lips, as he realized her prejudice remained unshaken. The tension in the room rose again, Eleanor refusing to budge from her cruel, manipulative stance. Marcus stopped pacing, standing tall and resolute, his eyes fixed on his parents. "Mom, I'm old enough to make decisions for myself," he asserted, his voice firm and unwavering. He held their gaze, daring them to continue their opposition. "It's Anya or no one else." His declaration hung in the air, powerful and final. It was an ultimatum, a line drawn in the sand, forcing his parents' hand. Eleanor's impassive face flickered with a surprised expression, a hint of a new, cunning strategy forming behind her eyes. This was the climax of their immediate confrontation, a moment of high stakes for Marcus and his chosen love. Eleanor returned to the bed, leaning in to whisper something to Richard, who, until now, had remained hidden behind his newspaper. Richard lowered the paper, his eyes meeting hers for a brief, knowing moment before he gave a subtle nod. A few minutes later, Eleanor turned back to Marcus, a saccharine smile replacing her earlier disdain. "Okay, fine, you can marry her. We want your happiness, son. If getting married to Anya will bring you peace and happiness, then we are totally in support of the marriage," Eleanor said, her voice unnaturally sweet. Marcus's eyes widened in wide-eyed astonishment, disbelief warring with overwhelming joy. The sudden shift from hostility to this unsettling calm hinted at a deeper, more sinister deception. "Really? You've finally accepted her? Just like that?" Marcus asked, his voice thick with disbelief and overwhelming excitement. He couldn't quite grasp the sudden shift, but the relief that washed over him was profound. "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for finally seeing reason with me to marry Anya. I truly appreciate this," Marcus expressed, his eyes welling with tears of joy as he pulled his parents into a tight embrace. He hugged them both, clinging to a hope that felt too fragile, too good to be true. Behind his back, as he embraced them, Eleanor and Richard exchanged a swift, knowing glance, a flicker of something calculating in their eyes that Marcus, in his moment of pure, naive joy, completely missed. With a heart full of gratitude, he released them and practically rushed out of the room, eager to share his miraculous news. Marcus hurried back to his room, his footsteps light with renewed hope. Anya looked up as he burst through the door, a question in her eyes. "Babe, they said yes! They've accepted us!" he exclaimed, his face alight with an unbridled joy she hadn't seen in hours. Anya's heart soared. She was thrilled, a bright smile spreading across her face as she launched herself into his arms, hugging him tightly. For a moment, all the tension and hurt seemed to dissipate. Yet, as Marcus recounted his parents' words, a faint, almost imperceptible hint of apprehension lingered beneath Anya's initial rush of happiness. A tiny knot of unease remained, a quiet whisper that perhaps this sudden acceptance was too easy, too perfect. Later during dinner, the Vance family gathered around the opulent dining table, a veneer of strained cordiality now replacing the earlier hostility. Eleanor and Richard, with practiced smiles, turned to Anya. "We sincerely apologize for our earlier behavior, dear," Eleanor began, her voice dripping with an almost saccharine sweetness. "And we hope you can forgive us." Richard nodded gravely beside her. Anya, ever gracious and kind, felt a surge of tentative relief. "You're like my parents," she assured them. her voice gentle. "I hold nothing against you." She truly believed their words, eager for peace. Eleanor's gaze, however, held a peculiar glint, a subtle shift that hinted at something far less sincere beneath her apologetic facade. The conversation continued, now lighter, but still carefully orchestrated. "Thanks, dear," Eleanor said, her smile widening. "We'll make sure you both have a big wedding. Important personalities will be attending, of course." Her words painted a grand picture, further cementing the illusion of their acceptance. Anya's eyes sparkled. "Thank you. I would really appreciate that," she replied, genuinely touched by the gesture, utterly unaware of the true intentions behind the lavish promise. As dinner concluded, Anya, in her humble and helpful nature, began to gather some of the plates. "Let me help the cook wash the dishes," she offered, rising from her seat and heading towards the kitchen, unknowingly walking straight into the serpent's waiting coils. A few minutes later, as Anya stood in the gleaming Vance kitchen, carefully stacking plates beside the cook, the kitchen door swung open. Eleanor Vance entered, her presence immediately chilling the air. With a dismissive wave of her hand, she ordered the cook. "You may leave now. I need a private word with my son's fiancée." The cook, sensing the shift in atmosphere, quickly departed, leaving Anya alone with Eleanor. The mask of kindness shattered instantly. Eleanor's face hardened, her eyes narrowing into cold slits. "Hey, black girl," she hissed, her voice low and venomous. "Let me tell you something you don't know. I don't like you, and I will make sure you will never marry my son. Read my lips very well. You will never get married to my son." Anya stood dumbfounded, her blood running cold. Just hours ago, this was the lady being nice to her, asking for forgiveness. What was this sudden, terrifying change? The betrayal was a physical blow, leaving Anya reeling in shock and disbelief. The opulent silence of Marcus's bedroom offered no comfort to Anya Sharma. The moon, a cold, indifferent eye, cast long shadows across the polished floor as she lay awake. Eleanor Vance's venomous words echoing in her mind. "You will never marry my son." Just hours ago, Eleanor had feigned acceptance, a sweet facade that crumbled into brutal hatred behind closed doors. Anya's mind raced, replaying the sudden shift, the chilling declaration. How could such malice hide behind a smile? She struggled to reconcile the two Eleanors. The thought of burdening Marcus with this fresh cruelty, after his heartfelt defense, felt unbearable. She squeezed her eyes shut, a knot of fear tightening in her stomach. No, she would not tell him yet. Not when his relief had been so profound. She had to understand it herself first. The following morning, a fragile peace settled over the Vance mansion. Marcus, oblivious to the insidious threat hanging over them, radiated contentment. He and Anya prepared to leave, heading back to their hotel. On the driveway, he embraced his parents, his gratitude genuine. "Thanks, Mom and Dad, for finally seeing reason with me. I really appreciate this," he expressed, a warm hug for each. Anya offered a polite, somewhat strained smile, a subtle flicker of unease beneath her composed demeanor. They stepped into their car, unaware that a dark sedan, parked discreetly down the street, rumbled to life the moment their tires hit the pavement, a shadow already lengthening behind them. Eleanor Vance, her face a mask of cold determination, watched from the tinted windows of her car. Her eyes narrowed as Marcus's vehicle pulled away from the mansion. She waited a calculated moment, then instructed her driver to follow, keeping a safe, inconspicuous distance. Through the bustling city streets, she tracked them, her gaze fixed on their car. As they pulled into the grand entrance of a luxury hotel, she meticulously jotted down the name and address in a small, leather-bound notebook. Her plan, intricate and cruel, was falling perfectly into place. The first stage of isolating Anya was complete. A week later, the hotel room Anya and Marcus shared buzzed with wedding plans. The big day was just around the corner. Suddenly, Marcus's phone rang, displaying his father's name. "Son, I need you at the house immediately." Richard Vance's voice crackled with urgency. "A crucial business conversation regarding the company. It can't wait." Marcus's brow furrowed with concern. "Of course, Dad. I'll be right there." He kissed Anya goodbye, promising to return swiftly. "I won't be long, sweetheart," he assured her, grabbing his keys. Unsuspecting, he left the hotel, leaving Anya alone in their room. a pawn in a game she didn't even know was being played. Anya was engrossed in a call with their wedding planner, discussing floral arrangements, when a soft knock sounded at the door. Assuming it was Marcus, she eagerly opened it, only to be met by a polite young hotel waiter, Leo, pushing a cart laden with an exquisite meal. "Hi, ma'am. I'm asked to bring this food to you," Leo said, a subtle nervousness in his eyes as he wheeled the cart into the room. He gently placed the dishes on the table. "It's a special treat from your husband." Anya's face lit up with a surprised smile. "Oh, this is lovely. The food smells so good." "Thank you," she expressed, genuinely touched by what she believed was Marcus's thoughtful gesture. As Leo offered a fleeting, almost imperceptible glance over his shoulder before exiting, Anya remained blissfully unaware of the sinister purpose behind the seemingly innocent delivery. Anya Sharma sat at the hotel room table, the aroma of the unexpected meal filling the air. Her heart, still tender from the Vance family's initial hostility, had momentarily softened at Marcus's thoughtful gesture. "Oh, this is lovely," she murmured to herself, picking up a fork. "The food smells so good. Marcus truly knows how to cheer me up." She ate contentedly, savoring each bite of the exquisite dish, completely unaware of the sinister ingredient hidden within her drink. The flavors were rich, the tea soothing, a pleasant warmth spread through her, a gentle wave of relaxation washing over her weary spirit. Her eyes, heavy from the emotional turmoil of the previous night and the day's events, began to flutter. The room, once bright, seemed to soften at the edges, and the sounds outside faded into a distant hum. Her head grew heavy, her limbs languid. She tried to fight it, a faint alarm bell ringing in the back of her mind, but the pull was too strong. Within minutes, Anya's head drooped, her hand still loosely clutching her fork, and she succumbed to a deep, unnatural sleep, oblivious to the cruel trap that had just sprung. Sweet dreams turned into a waking nightmare. The drug took hold. 2 hours later, across town in a chic, albeit nondescript, restaurant, Eleanor Vance sat at a secluded table, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on her lips. Her phone glowed in her hand. The first phase of her meticulously crafted scheme was complete. Now, it was time to reel in her son. With a practiced, calculating efficiency, she typed out a message to Marcus. "Meet me at the restaurant nearby." The text read, her fingers dancing across the screen. "I have something very important to tell you. It can't wait." She pressed send, her eyes gleaming with cold satisfaction. Marcus, still at his parents' mansion for the fabricated business meeting, would undoubtedly rush to her side. He would be drawn into her web of lies, a puppet on her strings, ready to witness the destruction she had orchestrated. The puppet master pulls a string. Marcus walks into a web of lies. A short while later, Marcus Thorne arrived at the restaurant, his brow furrowed with concern. He saw his mother, Eleanor, sitting alone, a serious expression etched onto her face. "Mom, what's so urgent?" he asked, sliding into the seat opposite her. Eleanor didn't waste a moment. From her designer handbag, she dramatically produced a stack of glossy photographs. With a triumphant yet feigned sigh of disappointment, she slid them across the table. "When I told you that your fiancé is a gold digger, you wouldn't believe me," she began, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Here's the proof. This is your soon-to-be wife, almost naked, with a man on the bed." Marcus's eyes widened in horror as he picked up the pictures. The images depicted Anya, half-dressed, in a compromising position with a stranger. His hand trembled, the vibrant colors of the photographs blurring into a sickening swirl. He couldn't breathe. Proof of betrayal? Marcus seized the shocking photos. Marcus stared at the photographs, his world collapsing around him. Disbelief warred with a crushing sense of betrayal. Tears welled in his eyes, hot and stinging, as they streamed down his face. "Oh my goodness!" he choked out, his voice raw with anguish. Could this be true? How could Anya do this to me? He had trusted her, loved her, fought for her against his own family. The images in his hand felt like a physical blow to his heart. "I'm really disappointed," he whispered, the words barely audible. "I thought she loved me." The pain was unbearable, a sharp, searing agony that left him gasping for air. He crumpled the photos in his shaking hands, His mind raced, a whirlwind of hurt and anger. He had to confront her, to understand. "I should head back to the hotel to know why she did this to me," he declared, pushing back his chair, his voice laced with a desperate need for answers, even if they were to shatter him completely. Love shattered, Marcus's world falls apart. Eleanor Vance watched Marcus's devastated reaction with a chilling satisfaction, carefully masking her triumph behind a veil of concern. As Marcus stood to leave, consumed by his heartbreak, she quickly gathered her own belongings. "I'm coming with you as well," she declared, her tone firm, leaving no room for argument. She grabbed her bag, her movements swift and deliberate. Her presence was crucial. She needed to witness Anya's humiliation firsthand, to ensure the confrontation played out exactly as she had planned, and to revel in the despair she had so cunningly orchestrated. Marcus, too distraught to protest, merely nodded, his mind a chaotic mess of pain and confusion. He barely registered his mother's determined stride as she led the way out of the restaurant, her face a picture of feigned maternal support, while inside, she relished her victory. The architect of pain. Eleanor ensures she has a front-row seat to the heartbreak. The hotel room door burst open with a violent crash, startling the quiet stillness within. Marcus Thorne stormed in, his face a mask of rage, his eyes blazing with a pain that twisted his features into an unrecognizable snarl. Eleanor Vance followed closely behind him, a dark shadow of satisfaction playing on her lips. Marcus's gaze immediately fell upon Anya, still deep in an unnatural slumber, half naked amidst the disheveled sheets. The sight fueled his fury. He lunged forward, roughly tapping Anya's shoulder several times. "Hey, wake up, you cheater!" Marcus spat, his voice raw with accusation. Anya jolted awake, disoriented and confused. Her eyes fluttered open, struggling to focus on Marcus's contorted face, then on her own state. A gasp escaped her lips. "Oh my goodness, what happened?" "Why am I half naked?" she stammered, her voice thick with sleep and fear. But there was no immediate answer from Marcus, only a chilling silence that amplified her terror. Anya's heart pounded against her ribs. The unfamiliar surroundings, her own vulnerability, and Marcus's terrifying accusations swirled into a vortex of panic. She tried to sit up, pulling the sheet instinctively to cover herself. Marcus, his hand trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak, thrust a stack of glossy photographs into her hands. "I think this will answer your questions," he choked out, his voice devoid of its usual warmth. Anya's eyes fell upon the images, and a wave of nausea washed over her. There she was, undeniably, in a compromising position with a strange man, half-clothed on the bed. Her mind reeled, unable to process the impossible scene. "No, it can't be! I didn't do it! I am being framed, I swear!" she pleaded, dropping to her knees, her voice cracking with desperation. Eleanor watched from the doorway, a faint, triumphant smirk playing on her lips, observing the agonizing scene unfold with cold satisfaction. Marcus's face was a stone mask of pain. The photographs, vivid and damning, had shattered his world. He could barely look at Anya, her pleas sounding like desperate lies against the irrefutable visual evidence. "Then who's this guy in the picture?" he demanded, his voice hollow. Anya closed her eyes, trying desperately to recall the events leading up to this nightmare. She remembered the waiter, the meal, the strange drowsiness. But the man? Only a fleeting, hazy image. "I think I remember. I have met him once," she whispered, her voice barely audible. But the explanation felt weak, insufficient. Marcus shook his head, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. His heart, once so full of love for her, felt like shattered glass. "I can't deal with this again. I'm done with this marriage. Have a good life," he declared, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. He turned away from her, grabbing his luggage and furiously throwing his belongings into it, his movements sharp and decisive. Anya watched, her world crumbling around her. "Marcus, wait! It's not what you think. I can explain. Please hold on a moment." Anya cried, her voice raw with anguish as she scrambled to her feet, reaching out a trembling hand towards him. But Marcus turned a deaf ear. His back was to her, a solid wall of betrayal and heartbreak. He walked purposefully towards the door, each step echoing the finality of his decision. The door swung open, and he was gone, leaving Anya alone in the shattered remnants of their love, collapsing onto the floor in despair, tears streaming down her face. As Anya bent down, her body racked with sobs, Eleanor Vance stepped forward, her face alight with a cruel, triumphant smile. "I told you, you will never marry my son," she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "You're indeed a gold digger, already sleeping with different men, even a waiter. You must be ashamed of yourself." Eleanor's words were meant to inflict maximum pain, to revel in Anya's absolute humiliation. But amidst her crushing grief, a single word pierced through Anya's despair: waiter. Her head snapped up, her tear-streaked face etched with a sudden, sharp curiosity. "Wait a bit. How did you know he's a waiter?" Anya asked, her voice surprisingly steady despite her distress. Eleanor's triumphant expression faltered. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes, a tiny slip that betrayed her carefully constructed facade. Without another word, she abruptly turned and rushed out of the room, leaving Anya alone once more, but this time, not entirely in despair. A seed of suspicion, a crucial clue, had just been planted in Anya's mind. Anya Sharma's heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of despair. She clutched her phone, fingers numb as she dialed Marcus's number for the 10th, then 11th time. Each unanswered ring was a fresh stab of abandonment, a confirmation of the chasm that had opened between them. Tears still traced cold paths down her cheeks, but beneath the raw pain, a spark of defiance flickered. Eleanor Vance's venomous words echoed in her mind, "Sleeping with a waiter." The cruel taunt, meant to demean, had instead ignited a crucial question. How could Eleanor have known? It was the last piece of information Anya had, the only thread leading out of this labyrinth of lies. She couldn't just sit there, broken. No. She would find the waiter, Leo, the last person she saw before her world imploded. He was the key. With a newfound resolve hardening her gaze, Anya grabbed her purse. This was her battle, and she would fight for her truth. As Anya reached for the doorknob, a soft knock startled her. Her breath hitched. "Could it be Marcus?" returned to her, realizing his mistake. Hope surged, then crashed as she swung the door open. Standing there was not Marcus, but Clara, the hotel housekeeper, a polite smile on her face, pushing her cleaning cart. "Good morning, ma'am. Housekeeping?" Clara offered, stepping into the room. Anya's shoulders slumped in quiet disappointment, but she nodded, stepping aside. Clara, ever diligent, began her routine, her eyes scanning the disarray of the room. It wasn't long before her gaze landed on the scattered photographs on the plush carpet, the damning images that had torn Anya's life apart. Clara, with a frown of concern, bent down and began to gather the glossy photos. As her fingers brushed against the images, her eyes widened in a mixture of shock and disbelief. She recognized the man instantly. Her brow furrowed, a flicker of something akin to betrayal crossing her face. "Excuse me, ma'am," Clara began, her voice hesitant. "Please, forgive me for asking, but I would like to know what exactly you're doing with this man in these pictures." Anya, watching her, felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. This was her chance. A glimmer of hope, sharp and bright, pierced through her desolation. "I wish I had a better explanation," Anya replied, her voice regaining a desperate urgency. She quickly recounted the events, the unordered food, the waiter's claim it was from Marcus, waking up to Marcus's fury, and his subsequent abandonment. "My fiancé just broke up with me and called off the wedding because of these pictures," Anya explained, her eyes fixed on Clara. "I've been trying to find the waiter, but it's hard." "Do you know him?" Clara's face hardened, her jaw clenching. "Yes, I do," she stated, her voice tight with fury. "He's my boyfriend Leo, and we've been dating for a year. I can't believe he would do something like this." Without another word, Clara pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the keypad. "Hey, babe," she said into the receiver, her voice deceptively calm. "Can you meet me in room 432? I made a serious mess in the bathroom." "Okay, sure, give me a minute," Leo's voice crackled through the phone, oblivious to the trap. A few tense minutes later, a knock echoed at the door. Clara exchanged a determined glance with Anya before opening it. Leo, the unsuspecting waiter, strolled in, a casual smile on his face, ready for a quick cleanup. His smile vanished the moment his eyes landed on Clara, then on Anya, who stood with an unwavering, expectant gaze. His face drained of color, terror flashing in his eyes. He spun around, trying to bolt, but Clara, quick as lightning, blocked his path. "Don't even think about it, Leo," she warned, her voice firm and dangerous. "If you try to run, I swear I'll expose everything you've done. You're going to explain yourself. Right here, right now." Leo froze, trapped, his panicked eyes darting between the two women. The jig was up. Anya's gaze, though still tear-streaked, sharpened with a fierce resolve. She stepped closer to Leo, her voice firm despite the tremor she couldn't quite suppress. "Please, I would like to know what exactly happened to me, and why we were on the same bed, almost half naked." Leo shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between Anya and Clara. He was clearly struggling, a battle between his desperate need for self-preservation and the gnawing of his conscience playing out on his face. The silence in the room stretched, thick with apprehension, as Anya waited, her intense stare daring him to lie. Clara, arms crossed, stood sentinel by the door, ensuring there would be no escape. Leo swallowed hard, the fear of exposure finally outweighing his desire to remain silent. Leo finally broke, the words tumbling out in a rush laced with genuine remorse. "I'm really sorry. I had to do it because of the money." His voice cracked, tears welling in his eyes. "She was willing to pay $5,000 just to get the job done, and I really needed the money." Anya's jaw dropped, a fresh wave of horror washing over her as the full extent of the betrayal became clear. "Nothing happened between us," Leo quickly clarified, his eyes pleading for her to believe him. "She just told me to put a sleeping tablet in your drink and then stage the pictures." Clara's face contorted in disgust, her boyfriend's confession painting a vile picture of manipulation and deceit. Anya felt a sickening lurch in her stomach, vindication battling with the profound shock of Eleanor's cruelty. The truth, finally revealed, was more horrifying than she could have imagined. "Who is this she you're referring to?" Anya asked, her voice barely a whisper, though she already suspected the answer. Leo quickly fumbled for his phone, his hands trembling. "I didn't know her very well, but here's her name on the receipt transaction she sent to me." He handed the phone to Anya. Her eyes scanned the screen, and there it was, stark and undeniable. A digital payment record, the sender's name clearly displayed. Eleanor Vance, Marcus's mother. The name rang like a death knell in her ears. A gasp escaped Anya's lips, her expression a mix of utter disbelief and burning rage. It wasn't just a random act. It was a premeditated, calculated attack by the woman who had promised her a grand wedding. Anya quickly regained her composure, her mind racing. This was it, the irrefutable proof. "I would like you to make a short video and explain everything that happened," Anya requested, holding up her own phone. Leo hesitated, glancing at Clara, who gave him a stern, encouraging nod. "Just tell the truth," Clara urged. Reluctantly, Leo agreed. Anya started recording, her phone steady in her hand. Leo, looking directly into the camera, reiterated his confession, detailing how Eleanor Vance had paid him $5,000 to drug Anya and stage the incriminating photos. "I'm really sorry to break your relationship," he finished, his voice heavy with guilt. "I did it for the money. Nothing happened between us." The confession, now captured forever, was undeniable. With the video confession secured, Anya wasted no time. She sent the recording, along with the screenshot of the transaction receipt, to Marcus. Her heart pounded with a mixture of hope and trepidation. She knew he was still angry, still believed the lies, but this was the truth. Miles away, Marcus received a notification on his phone. He saw Anya's name, and a wave of fresh anger washed over him. He almost dismissed it, but a flicker of curiosity, perhaps an echo of their shared love, made him tap the message. He watched the video, his expression slowly shifting from indignation to utter bewilderment, then to profound shock. The truth, delivered through Leo's tearful confession, hit him like a physical blow, shattering the carefully constructed facade of betrayal. Marcus Thorne's world, already shattered by perceived betrayal, crumbled further as he watched the video on his phone. Leo, the hotel waiter, confessed everything. The staged photos, the sleeping tablet, the $5,000. Eleanor Vance, his own mother, was the architect of this cruel deception. A wave of disbelief, then searing guilt, washed over him. How could he have been so blind? How could he have doubted Anya, the woman he loved more than life itself? The anger he'd felt towards her now twisted into a burning rage directed at his parents, and a profound self-loathing for his quick judgment. "Oh my goodness, could this be true?" he murmured, his voice cracking, tears welling in his eyes. "How could I have done this to Anya?" There was no time for self-pity. Only Anya mattered now. He had to make amends, to beg for her forgiveness. His heart pounded with a desperate urgency. He snatched his keys, his mind fixed on one singular goal, reaching Anya. He raced out of the restaurant, oblivious to the stairs, his car a blur as he sped towards the hotel, praying it wasn't too late. The truth hit hard, and Marcus raced back, desperate to beg for forgiveness. Marcus burst into Anya's hotel room, his eyes scanning frantically until they landed on her. She looked up, her face streaked with tears, a flicker of surprise in her weary eyes. Without a word, he crossed the room in 2 strides, pulling her into a fierce, protective embrace. "Anya, I'm so sorry," he choked out, his voice thick with emotion, burying his face in her hair. "I'm so incredibly sorry for not trusting you. Please forgive me." Anya, who had been on the verge of giving up hope, felt a surge of overwhelming relief. She clung to him, tears of despair transforming into tears of pure joy. "It's okay, Marcus," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I have forgiven you." She pulled back just enough to look into his eyes, a tender smile gracing her lips, and sealed their reconciliation with a heartfelt kiss. He held her close, the warmth of her body a balm to his tormented soul. The weight of his guilt began to lift, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude. "Let's get your things," he said, gently touching her hair, his voice still raw but filled with renewed purpose. He helped her pack her remaining luggage, each item carefully placed, symbolizing the rebuilding of their shattered future. Love had triumphed, leading to a tearful reunion and a promise of forever. Before leaving the hotel, Marcus and Anya made a crucial stop at the manager's office. Marcus, his voice firm and clear, explained the elaborate scheme orchestrated by his mother. He held up his phone, showing the manager Leo's video confession, detailing how he was paid to drug Anya and stage the incriminating photos. He also presented the transaction receipt from Eleanor Vance to Leo. The hotel manager listened gravely, his expression shifting from disbelief to serious concern. "This is a grave matter, Mr. Thorne," he stated, his gaze fixed on the irrefutable evidence. "Such a breach of trust and criminal act by an employee, orchestrated by an external party, will not be tolerated." He assured them that Leo would be immediately dismissed from his position, and appropriate legal action would be pursued. Anya stood resolutely by Marcus's side, her presence a silent testament to their united front. Justice had been served. The hotel staffer faced the consequences. 3 days before the wedding, Marcus drove to the Vance family mansion. His parents, Eleanor and Richard, were visibly surprised to see him. "Why didn't you tell us you would be coming to visit us today, son?" Eleanor asked, a saccharine smile on her face, unaware of the storm brewing. "I have something special for you both," Marcus replied, his voice devoid of his usual warmth, his eyes fixed on his mother. They sat on the lavish couch, a sense of eager anticipation on their faces. "Mom, why did you hate me this much? What has Anya done to deserve such treatment from you?" Marcus's voice was low, laced with a barely controlled fury. "You think I wouldn't find out?" Eleanor's smile faltered. "I am confused, Marcus." "What exactly are you talking about?" she feigned, her eyes darting nervously. "Do you suddenly have amnesia, Mom? Well, here's a quick reminder." Marcus opened the video on his phone, the chilling confession of Leo echoing through the opulent living room. He then showed her the receipt of the $5,000 she had sent to Leo's account. Eleanor Vance's face drained of all color, her jaw slack. She was utterly speechless, caught red-handed in her own web of lies. Richard shifted uneasily on the couch, his gaze avoiding Marcus's burning eyes. The ultimate showdown had arrived. Marcus had exposed his parents, cruel betrayal. "It was all your mother's idea, son," Richard Vance suddenly interjected, breaking the suffocating silence, his voice tinged with a weary remorse. He couldn't bear Eleanor's stunned silence any longer. "I just wanted you to marry Sophia because of how influential and well-connected her parents are. Hearing your mother's plans made me reconsider helping her carry out her schemes, which was getting you married to Sophia after Anya was no longer in the picture. That day I called you so you could leave the hotel while your mom carried out the plans. We are truly sorry for causing you and Anya so much pain." As Richard spoke, Anya quietly walked into the house, her presence unseen by the contrite father. When Eleanor saw her, a raw, desperate fear flashed in her eyes. She immediately rushed to Anya, grasping her hands. "Anya, please, forgive me. I was wrong. So terribly wrong." But Anya remained silent, her expression unreadable. Marcus, his eyes swollen with tears, stepped forward. "Let go of her hands," he commanded, his voice trembling with a profound sense of hurt and betrayal. "We are getting married in 3 days, and both of you are no longer invited. This may be the last time you will see me. Don't ever call me. You're not fit to be called my parents." He turned, his heart heavy, and walked out, Anya following, leaving his parents stunned and heartbroken. Outside, by the car, Anya gently took Marcus's hand. "I know this hurts so much, my love," she said softly, her voice filled with compassion. "But they're still your parents. You can't cut them out on your special day. They have been there for you from day one. They may not fully like me now, but with time, I'm pretty sure they will get to know me better. I'm going to be nice to them and give them time to come around. They're like my own parents. I want us to go in there and ask them to come to our wedding. We need their blessings." Marcus looked at her, his heart swelling with love. "You're the best thing that has ever happened in my life, Anya. I will forever love you. I'm doing this for you. Let's go back in." As Marcus and Anya headed back into the house, Eleanor and Richard were shocked to see them return. "We have forgiven you, and you can come to our wedding," Marcus stated, his gaze softening. "You should be grateful to Anya, who changed my mind towards you." "Really?" Eleanor gasped, her eyes welling up with tears of relief and genuine remorse. She rushed to Anya, hugging her tightly. "I'm really, truly sorry, Anya. Can we start afresh?" Anya returned the embrace. "Sure, mother-in-law, I would be so glad." Richard also approached Anya, his head bowed, offering his sincere apologies. They all shared a big, tearful hug, a fragile bridge of forgiveness spanning the chasm of past prejudice. Marcus and Anya's wedding day arrived, a glorious celebration of love, resilience, and the power of forgiveness. It was a day where hearts healed and new beginnings blossomed, proving that true love could overcome even the deepest-seated prejudice. As for Leo, the waiter, he lost both his job and his relationship with Clara. He learned a big lesson about the devastating consequences of greed and manipulation. Love, forgiveness, and a fairy tale wedding, the ultimate triumph over hate.